Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 5th of August, 2022. Right, everyone, let's get into it. Okay, so it is the 5th of August, which means it is the 1-year anniversary of EIP-1559 going live on the Ethereum network. Now, since then, we have burned 2.1% of the ETH supply, which is very, very cool. Obviously, we had a bull market during that time, so the kind of amount of fees paid was pretty high. These days, nowhere near as high, but still up there. We're still burning ETH. We're still burning millions of ETH a day, which is really, really cool. And I know some people thought that 1559's anniversary was yesterday, August 4th. Well, it's technically August 5th. That's actually when it went live. I mean, depending on the time zone that you look at, but the times are measured in UTC. Usually when these kind of like things happen. So August 5th is definitely the day that it kind of went live there. I remember being on kind of like the live stream for it. It was very, very cool. I mean, after 2.5 years of waiting for it to go live, it was a huge kind of like moment for me personally, just like when the Beacon Chain went live as well on December 1st, 2020. And I'm sure I'm going to feel the same way around the merge. Probably even more like excited about the merge than I was about 1559 and the Beacon Chain going live, probably put together. Honestly, I just cannot begin to describe my excitement about the merge, and you guys know that. But yeah, I think for all the, I guess, like concern around EIP-1559 that people brought up, things about kind of like, oh, miners are going to leave in droves, or they're going to fork the chain because we're basically giving them a pay cut. That never ended up happening. People said that gas fees would go up because of 1559. That didn't happen because of the fact that it had no effect on the gas prices kind of like going up or down, but it did smoothen out the gas prices. It made inclusion better for the rest of the network, for the entire network. So that ended up playing out. We've got a year's worth of data to look back on now, and we can actually see that playing out. And we got that awesome burn, right? I remember when it first went live, people were so shocked by the amount of ETH that we were burning. And I was like, well, I mean, you guys were complaining that the fees were high, and now you're shocked that we're burning this much ETH. Like, this didn't really make sense to me. But yeah, we've burned 2.57 million ETH, which is 2.1% of the ETH supply right now. And even at current kind of gas prices, I think, post-merge, we're going to be pretty much still net deflationary every year, which is very, very cool. But we're not obviously net deflationary right now because under proof of work, we're issuing a lot more ETH. But yeah, we're going to have EIP-1559 for forever, hopefully. I mean, it can be changed. People have said before, it's like, oh, okay, we're just going to burn ETH forever. And I'm like, well, okay, there's a 99.9% chance we're going to burn ETH forever, but there's always that small chance that for some reason, maybe 50, 100 years in the future, the network doesn't want to burn ETH anymore, and we kind of like turn the burn off, so to speak. Like, technically, anything can happen on the network, but it's all about, I guess, like the social contract. It's all about what people want, and that's basically the entire network and every blockchain, really. They're all social systems, and they're all kind of like human-run systems. As much as people will try and kind of like, I guess, ignore that fact, it's really all just human consensus at the end of the day. And the only reason why we got EIP-1559 is because we had so much human consensus behind it. It actually kind of went into limbo for quite a while there, 6 to 12 months, because no one was really being a champion for it. And then Tim Byko came along, started coordinating the effort, and we got this to mainnet on August 5th, 2021, which was very, very awesome. So yeah, this screenshot comes from the Ultrasound Money website. Obviously, this is the Ultrasound Money Twitter account here. A great website for tracking all things got to do with the burn and a bunch of other metrics as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Yeah, I guess congrats to EIP-1559 on turning 1. All right, so the Prater Görli has been, kind of testnets have been upgraded to Bellatrix, and it went okay. Network participation dropped from 89% to 80% due to inactive nodes, which is expected for an unincentivized testnet. The Görli merge next week. So yeah, we're about 5-6 days away from the Görli merge here, and I think Terence kind of like followed up on his tweet here and said he wants to add a bit more details. There was a peering issue between Prism and Teku. Prism's latest multiplexer libraries updated incorrectly, marked Yamux as default, which made it hard to peer with Teku. The issue is now fixed and will be in the next Prism release. So these are the kind of like edge cases that will pop up from time to time. But the beautiful thing is, and as I talked about yesterday, we have that client diversity, right? Like if there is an issue and you just want to kind of like be on top of it, you can just change or have a fallback client so that you don't have to wait for the client to fix the issue. You can just fall back to something else and then switch back once it's been fixed. And it's good for the network as well. Like say 10% of the validators fall offline. Well, if you've got like a fallback client that you can kind of like fall back on, we can get that percentage up really quickly before the bug is kind of like fixed and patched and things like that. So really cool to see that. But also, as Terence mentions here, this is an unincentivized testnet. There is no actual money at stake here. And that's why I think like the merge on mainnet, we may, for some reason, see a kind of like participation drop off because there's kind of like peering issues, or there's like a bug, or there's kind of like configuration issues. But I feel like it's gonna. I mean, especially in the sense of a configuration issue, that's going to get fixed really, really quickly. It's because there's real money on the line, right? It's not going to be this thing where it takes a few hours for us to diagnose it on the testnet and then kind of like send the fix out and everything like that. No, it's going to get fixed extremely quickly, and people are going to update their nodes and make sure they're working extremely quickly because they don't want to be losing money here. So yeah, anyway, cool to see this happening here. And yeah, the Görli merge is coming. All right, so the Akula kind of Ethereum client is now officially, I guess, like in production. It is now listed on the ethereum.org website. So this is an execution layer kind of like a client here, and you can go to the ethereum.org website and kind of check out the clients. I should actually click on this link. Yeah, check out the clients here, the clients page. Basically, you have, I guess, like the nodes and clients kind of section on the ethereum.org website under developers, and then you can kind of like scroll down and you'll find kind of like all the information around that. So very cool to see another, here's the table here, another execution client that's built in Rust. I think it's the first execution client that's built in Rust here. Runs on Linux only at the moment, but supports mainnet, Görli, Rinkeby, and Ropsten, and has a full sync capability there. And that's really cool. I think, you know, there is an implementation of a consensus layer client in Rust, a Lighthouse, as we all know, but there hasn't been an execution layer client in Rust yet, and now we have one, which is very, very cool to see. So always great to see more clients being added to production ready status here and making client diversity a kind of like much better thing on Ethereum. All right, so Togrel here from Scroll put out a tweet yesterday where he said, "Hey Ethereum proof of work community, if you're not sure what to do with your GPUs after the merge but still want to be part of the larger Ethereum community, DM me, Scroll might need you." So this is basically, I guess, what I've been talking about when it comes to ZK stuff, where these GPUs can be used within like the ZK context to do proving and things like that. And I've seen some people kind of like push back on that and say, oh, great, like we're just replacing proof of work on layer 1 with proof of work on layer 2. No, they're totally different things. Like it's got nothing to do with kind of like proof of work. It's a totally different thing. It's basically using the GPUs to compute proofs and actually do useful work, but it doesn't scale kind of like linearly like proof of work does, right? Where obviously as kind of like the price of the asset goes up, more miners come online, the more difficult it kind of gets to mine, and the more miners you need to kind of like mine at the same profitability as before. Whereas it doesn't work like that for kind of like these provers. It's completely different. Like you can literally use these things in kind of like parallel and prove things much quicker, and there's no kind of like monetary incentive tied to it either in terms of there could be a monetary incentive tied to it, sorry, I should say, but it's not intrinsically linked, where the more kind of like power and the more kind of like hardware you throw at it, the more I guess like of the share of the kind of, I guess, like block reward you would get. That's not how this kind of like works here. So, and as Togrel mentions in his reply, you know, we don't need these GPUs for proof of work. We need them for computing validity proofs. So, yeah, basically, there's a few more replies in here around from kind of like Togrel and a few other people here explaining that. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of clear that up, that misconception up. We're not taking all the, okay, the way I can frame it is, say we have like 1 million GPUs, which I probably think it's more than that, mining Ethereum right now, but for sake of argument, say we have 1 million GPUs. It's not like 1 million GPUs are going to be able to be economically used for proving these sorts of things. The demand isn't there, and it won't be for a very, very long time, if ever. So this call out here is really just for any miners that have a GPU that they kind of like don't even want to care about selling, but really care about continuing to add value to the Ethereum community and ecosystem. It's really for them. So I think Togrel mentioned that he got over 40 DMs, which is really cool to see. But yeah, guys, like even kind of like the sense of scale here is completely different. Like and the energy use, while obviously will be more than zero because you're using kind of like hardware, right? It's not going to be like proof of work at all. So yeah, if you ever see people kind of like talking about that, you should maybe kind of like correct them and say to them, well, no, it's not the same kind of like system. It's not going to be like that at all. It's basically akin to how you have GPUs kind of like running in your computer at home, for example. Like my GPU behind me running here powers my screens, but lets me do my gaming and all that sorts of stuff. It's basically akin to that in terms of energy usage. So it's basically like a consumer PC at the end of the day, right? Rather than me having like this whole room full of GPUs, like 100 GPUs mining Ethereum to inch out that profit, and having to throw more and more GPUs at it if I want to keep my share of the profit the same as more and more people join the network, and as the price of ETH goes up, because and the hash follows that price. Whereas with a prover, it doesn't kind of like work like that, or using GPUs as a prover does not work like that. So yeah, just wanted to clear up that there. But if you're someone who is mining on Ethereum and you watch the refuel, I know I've been harsh on miners before, but maybe you don't hate me yet. You can definitely DM Togrol here and see what you can do with Scroll. All right, so a big announcement out of Coinbase today, or I guess yesterday. They announced a partnership with BlackRock. So BlackRock's Aladdin clients will now have direct access to crypto markets through Coinbase Prime. Now, for those of you who don't know who BlackRock is, they are one of the biggest asset management managers in the world, if not the biggest. I can't remember if they're the biggest or not. There are two major asset managers. There's BlackRock, and the name of the other one eludes me, but they're definitely absolutely massive, right? Like $1 trillion, kind of like trillions of dollars of AUM sort of thing. So absolutely massive, very, very well known within kind of like the finance world, the traditional finance world, very, very respected. And as I said, trillions of AUM there. So now that Coinbase has a partnership with them through their Coinbase Prime product, which is kind of like the institutional product, the Aladdin clients of BlackRock can now access the crypto markets directly. Now, does that mean they're going to be buying all our favorite shitcoins? Probably not, right? I would wager that they're going to be buying BTC and ETH first. They're definitely not going to be going down the risk curve probably anytime soon. They may kind of like do staking on ETH, because we saw Coinbase announce the institutional staking the other day. So I think that they may kind of like put it to work, which would be really, really cool, and obviously on-sell it to their customers and things like that. But on top of this, I think the timing is also pretty funny here. I mentioned, I think yesterday or the day before, around the CFTC wanting to classify BTC and ETH as commodities instead of securities. I don't know, like I guess the person in me who connects the dots seems to think that this is that curious timing here. Coinbase is partnering with one of the biggest asset managers in the world, and they want and they would obviously have an incentive for ETH and BTC to be kind of like listed or regulated as commodities rather than securities, because it simplifies the whole process there, and they can wrap them up in a bunch of different products and things like that and sell them to their customers. So yeah, the timing is really cool here. Coinbase is making big moves. You know what I find hilarious? And I think someone tweeted this out today, but I can't find the tweet. But what I find hilarious, because I was thinking about this too, is that like a few weeks ago, people were kind of like fudding Coinbase, being like, oh, Coinbase is insolvent, right? Because they stopped doing their referral program or something like that. And Coinbase is the next kind of like exchange to blow up. And I remember pushing back on this, saying like, guys, like there's a lot of issues with Coinbase. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not perfect, right? They had their insider trading thing. They list some of the shittiest assets I've ever seen. But they also do a lot of good. They're a massive company, so there's expected to be good and bad from them. And they're definitely not insolvent. It's just insane that people were saying that. And then I saw this announcement today, and I just laughed. I'm like, BlackRock wouldn't be partnering with Coinbase if Coinbase was going to be insolvent, right? And on top of that, we can actually see all their financials because they're a publicly traded company. So I don't know. I just still thought that was insane. And it's funny how those voices have kind of like completely gone. It feels like the bears are getting slaughtered every day that we just don't go back down. Now, I'm not saying that there's no chance that we can go back down from here, but we just keep kind of like, I guess, we are ranging still, but we do keep kind of like bucking the bears. Like the bears are like, oh, we're going to go to new lows now. And we don't do that, right? And I don't see any bulls calling for, well, maybe some here and there, but there's no one really calling for new highs or anything like that yet, because we all are well aware of the fact that this could still be a bear market rally. We could still go back down. But at the same time, we have those kind of like major catalysts, obviously, with the merge and stuff like that. But I guess that's going a bit off topic there. I think that, this is really cool from Coinbase. They're bringing on more institutional clients into crypto. And this is going to be very big. Like, I can't actually kind of like overstay how big this is, because of the fact that BlackRock has so much money under management and so many kind of like tendrils in the traditional finance system. They're going to be bringing a lot of money eventually. Probably they're not going to put $1 trillion into crypto like overnight, guys. Like maybe in the long run they'll probably have like $1 trillion worth of crypto exposure, but they're not going to be doing that. They're obviously going to be taking it step by step, taking it slowly. But I think they're going to be doing ETH and BTC definitely first, and we'll see what else they want to do, right? Maybe they kind of like go down the risk curve a bit and start buying other things, but I'm not sure what else there is. Like if I look at like the top 20, top 30 on CoinGecko, it's still a fucking disaster. Like I look at it and I'm just like, how is XRP still in the top 10 for starters, right? I can understand some of the others that in kind of like top 10 that I disagree with, such as kind of like Cardano, and some of the other L1s like Solana and Polkadot. But I just don't understand XRP at all, because it just hasn't done anything in so many years. It is just pretty much a scam, and it has been basically delisted from like major exchanges because of the ongoing securities, the ongoing SEC kind of like lawsuit, and yet it just doesn't budge. So either no one's selling because no one has any XRP anymore. It's literally just kind of like Ripple that has all their XRP, and maybe just like a bunch of whales, which I think is actually the case. Or something else is going on. But regardless of that, I think that you're going down the risk curve. You have to go pretty far to find something kind of like worthwhile. I think you have to go outside of the top 10. Besides BTC and ETH, I wouldn't touch anything else in the top 10. That's for sure. But that's just me, right? Not investment advice, but that's just kind of me there. But yeah, cool to see this partnership with BlackRock from Coinbase. All right, so John here from, I think he's at Delphi Digital here. His bio says crypto research at New York Post, allegedly. No, he's from Delphi Digital. He put out guide to Ethereum's roadmap a little while ago, maybe a few months ago, and I highlighted it on the Reef. It was a very comprehensive guide, pretty much the best that I've seen. Well, he's back at it again with something he's called an incomplete guide to rollups. He's called a complete guide to rollups because Vitalik had an incomplete guide to rollups that he wrote a blog post about. So this is an 86-page report on rollups. Now, it doesn't just cover Ethereum, it also covers Celestia, but it's all about rollups. Now, I obviously have not read this yet because it is only kind of like been coming out today, but at 86 pages, I think I'm going to learn a lot from this. There's not usually a lot of this stuff that I read about rollups because I already know a lot about rollups, but I think with an 86-page kind of report here, there's definitely stuff in there that I don't know, which is just crazy. This guy is absolutely insane. There's no way in hell I'd be able to do something like this. I mean, I was talking to a friend about this earlier. I'm just like, how does someone do this? And so quickly too. I doubt this was something that has been kind of like worked on for very long, because he had the original guide that he did, and if he started working on this after that, it was probably on the last kind of like few months, which is just absolutely crazy to me when I think about it. There's no way I'd be able to do this. I talk about all these sorts of stuff on the Refuel and I write my newsletter, but writing a report of this length is definitely something that I wouldn't be able to do. And it's funny because I left uni, I never finished uni because I was just sick of the amount of kind of structured work that I had to do. I'm not really someone who likes structured work. I find it very hard to focus on things. So I give a lot of credit to people who can do that. And that's why I wanted to highlight this report from John. And obviously, I think you should give it a read. It is probably the definitive guide to rollups. I haven't seen anything this comprehensive before. So it's said here, an 83-minute read, it calculates here. So this is a good thing to set in maybe on the weekend, right? We're at the weekend now, and just kind of maybe load it up on your Kindle or something, go grab a coffee or go grab a tea and go give this a read. That's what I'm going to do. I literally just described what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this over the weekend in my backyard or something with a cup of coffee, cup of tea, because it is about an hour and a half read here. But I'm really looking forward to learning something from this. So that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to say that, highlight this for you guys. I think you should give it a read, because I think by the end of it, you'll probably understand all the differences between rollups, or at least have a good understanding of all the difference between rollups, the different rollups, how they work, on not just Ethereum, but on Celestia and stuff like that as well. So yeah, definitely check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description. All right, so ASN here, who I believe works at the Ethereum Foundation, I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but they put out a post with a kind of tweet caption saying, "Fresh work on effectively verifying large amounts of KZG multi-proofs in the context of Ethereum's data availability sampling. Research conducted with the impeccable Ansgar. Yeah, this is Ansgar here, and Dankrad Feist, of course. Now, you can check out this ETH research post if you want to. This is quite technical, like very technical, actually. So, I mean, it talks about things like polynomials. So if you don't know what a polynomial is, then you're probably not going to be able to follow this post. I can't follow it either. But what I wanted to say is that this is the kind of work that needs to be done to do things like dank sharding, right? Like data availability sampling is key to the dank sharding kind of like rollout here. It's what makes it work. It's what makes it tick. Now, how this differs to proto-dank sharding is that we don't need data availability sampling for proto-dank sharding because it's a much simpler implementation, and we've also got that kind of like expiry going on every month of those blobs there. Whereas full dank sharding, the kind of like holy grail here, requires a lot more research and development to happen, and that's why we're not getting it, we're not getting it in the next 6 months, so to speak, right? So yeah, if this is the stuff that you're into, if you can read this stuff, if you can make sense of any of the stuff that's on my screen right now, you should definitely go check this out. I think there's also a little bit of a thread here. No, it's not much in the thread either. It's still pretty technical in the thread. But essentially, this is vital work being done to make sure that we can get dank sharding shipped, obviously, and shipped in a timely manner. Because at the end of the day, it's all well and good to kind of like keep researching this, keep developing this. But if it's going to take another 5 years, probably going to be too long. So we want to get this out there, as soon as possible. And that's, one of the motivations behind proto-dank sharding is to get this stuff out there as soon as possible. So great to see this kind of like research continue here. You can check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, some big news out of Arbitrum today. They finally announced a date for Nitro. Now, this is a bit later than what I thought it would be. I thought that would be kind of like early to mid-August, but it will be happening on August 31st, which is the 1 year anniversary of when Arbitrum 1 went live last year. So pretty cool. I guess they chose this date, not only because of that, but that was definitely a factor into this. But that isn't far away at all, guys. Like, I mean, August 31st, it's August 5th, right? It's like 26 days away. It's very, very close, which is absolutely awesome. Like, and for kind of like a refresher on what Nitro brings with it, they have like a few dot points here. It's got advanced core data compression, which is going to drive down transaction costs. Ethereum L1 gas compatibility, bringing pricing and accounting for EVM operations perfectly in line with Ethereum, which is obviously better for user experience. Additional L1 interoperability, including tighter synchronization with L1 block numbers and full support for all L1 precompiles. It's a couple of things for devs here, I think. Safe retrievals, geth tracing, and many, many more changes as they kind of list here. So yeah, August 31st is the date for Nitro. I'm hoping that, like, as I said last time, within a few days, they re-enable Odyssey, because look, the funny thing is right now, the Optimism ecosystem is getting a lot of attention, a lot of usage, a lot of traction because they have the OP incentives going live for a lot of apps. I think Aave's OP incentives went live. The OP token also went up in price. People are saying it's like an Optimism summer right now. But, and the funny thing is that Arbitrum doesn't have a token yet. So I don't know, like, when they're going to do their token, right? But I kind of like wonder what it's going to look like, because I said before that I think, when rollups have their tokens and they apply it, the kind of like to liquidity incentive and things like that, it's going to be the same playbook we saw play out with the L1s. There's going to be a flood of capital coming in. There's going to be a lot of usage there. A lot of it probably won't be sustainable, but I'm curious to see what kind of like the narrative is around these different platforms. Like, I don't want to kind of like personally pick winners or anything like that. Like, I don't think you can pick winners at this stage, but I'm not biased towards any one L2. But it's kind of funny to see, like, Arbitrum and Optimism are pretty much kind of like compared to each other because they're both optimistic rollups. They're both generalized. They're both pretty close in terms of kind of functionality at this stage. Nitro is going live on August 31st. Bedrock, Optimism's major upgrade, isn't going to be live till Q4 this year. So they're betting them to the punch there. But Optimism has a token, right, to do the incentives. Arbitrum does not. But Arbitrum, I think, has more of an ecosystem than Optimism right now and has more users right now. But, these kind of like things can change. So are we going to see maybe an ebb and flow here, or kind of like a balancing act where maybe Optimism kind of leapfrogs Arbitrum for a bit, and then Arbitrum comes back with a vengeance, and then kind of having this stuff go back and forth. So we'll see. I mean, it's kind of like an apples to oranges comparison to an extent because of the fact that one has a token and one doesn't. And I really do think a token influences a lot of things. Some people may say it doesn't, but it does. Like, it really does. And we have plenty of evidence of that. But it so influences things in like the short to medium term rather than the long term, as we've seen with the alt L1s. They're like their incentive programs and their kind of like their tokens didn't really save them at all from the kind of like bear market, right? And I think their user basis is down like dramatically, like really dramatically. And meanwhile, L2s continue to grow, continue to get more adoption. So yeah, we'll have to see how that all plays out. Maybe after Nitro's live and kind of like Odyssey goes live again, maybe Arbitrum announces their token plans. I don't know. I have no knowledge here. And I mean, you guys know I'm an investor in both Optimism and Arbitrum. So as I said, like I'm not picking winners here. Like I have skin in the game for both of them. I have skin in the game for pretty much every L2, direct skin in the game for every L2 except Starkware. But I still like talk about Starkware all the time, right? Like, and I still promote them. So for me, the way I look at the L2 space is I just want to put my energy behind all of them and all of the ones that I think I consider to be legit and consider to be really exciting, and just highlight their updates and kind of like give my honest opinions on where each of these things go. Leaving it at that, couple of last things to get through. So Uniswap, I guess, like had a governance proposal here, which was a temperature check for something called a Uniswap Foundation that wants that kind of like a bunch of people want to create here. Now you can go read this. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But the TLDR is to create a Uniswap Foundation that would be a major protocol to go through. Be the first major protocol to go through the community governance process, and will support the protocol's decentralized growth, reinvigorate governance, and serve as a protocol advocate. The team will be a team of 12 with a couple of kind of directors here. Sorry, an executive director and head of operations, and a team of 12. So I think it's 14. They're requesting a $14 million operating budget for a full team for 3 years, and a $60 million Uniswap grants program budget to cover 3+ years to give grants out. So they're requesting $74 million from the UniDAO, which will be broken into 2 disbursements with a first disbursement of $20 million. Look, I think this is a really cool idea, what they're trying to do, but the money that they're requesting is quite high and quite insane. I think that they should request less money, and should also be kind of like broken up into more than 2 disbursements. You can do kind of like an ongoing thing, so that you basically prove that you can deliver on what you're saying and you're kind of like spending the money right before you get like a chunk of money. Now, obviously, it's backweighted here or backloaded here because they're only asking for $20 million in the first disbursement, and then they want $54 million in the second one, but I think it should be more than 2 disbursements here. That's my main issue with this thing. I think the rest of the stuff that they're trying to do is really cool, but that's a lot of money to take from the Uni Treasury, kind of like all at once here for one initiative, so to speak, right? But it is a pretty detailed proposal. These people have been doing this sort of stuff with Uniswap grants for a while now, so it's not like some randoms coming in requesting all this money. But at the same time, I believe that they're obviously trying to budget these things and things like that. It's fine to request like the money that you need, but it should be dispersed in a way that is kind of like fair, and that a way that can be measured more than just 2 disbursements. Maybe you do it like once every 3 months or something. I know there's overhead the more frequently you do it, because governance is a slow process, and especially Uniswap governance is a bit of a mess still, but I think, doing more than 2 over 3 years would make a lot of sense. But yeah, you can go read the kind of, I guess, replies here. I think people are in favor of this kind of like proposal for kind of like creating the foundation and what they want to focus on. But I don't know if they're kind of like in favor of kind of like the money side of it and how much money these things are getting. But there's a lot of replies here, right? Like you can see just scrolling down, people have a lot of different opinions on this sort of stuff. So you can definitely go read that. But yeah, that was my kind of like opinion on it. Is more, I would rather see like a better structured kind of like, I guess, package here around the money that's going to this kind of like potential team. And this is just a proposal right now. It hasn't passed or anything like that. It's literally just a temperature check to see what people think and give their opinions. And that's exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, just wanted to highlight this for you guys. Definitely check it out. I'll link it in the YouTube description. All right, so GitPoap today announced a partnership with Lens Protocol. So all GitPoap holders are now eligible to mint Lens profiles. So if that is you, if you are eligible, you can go mint your Lens profile now. I have mine. I have the kind of like Sassal profile on there, which is really cool that I got that. But yeah, if you've been waiting to kind of like get yours, you can now do it if you have a GitPoap. So you can basically just kind of like claim handle up here. And with the address that you obviously want to kind of like claim it on, and you have your GitPoap on, and it should work just fine for you. So just wanted to highlight that for you guys there today, but I think that's going to be it for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all next week. Thanks everyone.